All right, guys. So today I'm going to try to draw something a little different. I normally draw like portraits and figures, figure drawings, but I've been wanting to do a landscape type drawing for some time. And surprisingly, I've never, my entire life, and I've been drawing and painting for years, but I've never done a landscape drawing or portrait. And I really love the outdoors. I've been to several national parks. I do a lot of hiking. And yeah, I have never drawn a landscape. I was doing a search of charcoal drawings, and I saw a lot of really cool, like moody looking landscape photos with charcoal. So yeah, I thought I'd give it a try. And I know it's something I'll enjoy. One of the things that I like about charcoal is before, when it came to portraits or anything, I did like super hyper realistic stuff. And as much as I really enjoy and appreciate that type of art, I wanted to be able to loosen up, and just kind of find my own style. And I felt like charcoal, allowed me to do that. So, hey guys, I do want to add that when you're working with charcoal powder, you should have some, a mask or, something to protect your airway. You don't want to be breathing in all this stuff here. It's like very powdery. So right now I'm using charcoal powder, and I'm using just a soft brush. It's probably time for a new one. This is a makeup brush that I found on Amazon to just tone the paper. I've been asked before, why don't you just buy, like draw on a black sheet of paper or a tone paper? And my response to that is, well, for two reasons. One is I like the texture that toning the drawing pad this way gives. Just gives it like this textured look, and something that I can't get with like a flat, solid, one color toned paper. And then the other, probably bigger reason, is that I draw using like a subtractive type method, where I erase a lot to pull those kind of highlights and details. So I wouldn't be able to do that if I just bought paper that was toned. So right now I am trying to just wipe off any excess charcoal powder here, because if I keep too much on there, or I leave too much on there, when it comes to the final drawing, and I try to like spray some fixative on there, all that excess it's just, in my experience, when there's too much loose charcoal on there, it's just really hard for the fixative to kind of hold anything. So it'll still smudge, which honestly, even with all this prep work, it still kind of smudges. The fixative, it helps, but I don't feel like it completely protects it. I still have to be very careful with handling it and transporting it. All right, so you guys have probably seen me use this before. This is a kneaded eraser. Maybe it's just the brand that I got. This one looks kind of like it's dry almost, but I noticed that with time, the more I use one, actually I have one here, but it's just completely, it's just, I can't use this. Actually, maybe I can. Anywho, the more I use it, the more I like it, because like the oils from my fingers just kind of like mix in, and it makes it like soft and just allows me to like blend, I feel like, better. Whereas, when it's new, it's still really tacky. And yeah, just so like right now, it's still a little tacky. I can feel it. Okay, so the plan today, I'm like breathing heavily. Yeah, I've been sick for like a week, and not COVID or anything, just like a cold. And right now I'm wearing a mask. There's still a little bit of the charcoal powder in the air, so I'm gonna wait till it kind of settles, and then I'll take it off. So I think I'm gonna go for just kind of like a moody landscape with a body of water in the front. And right now I'm just gonna like roughly sketch out, or block in, I should say, the lighter areas, and then just slowly build up the layers. So it's gonna look like a rough sketch right now. Just blocking in those lighter areas. And my goal is to not be too detailed. I want something that has like a soft atmospheric kind of look to it, And I'll just put like my horizon line somewhere here, although I guess it's not really a true horizon line because I'm gonna have some mountains and stuff in the background. So I'll say about right here, I think will be good. And then up here, I'll just put a sky. It doesn't look like much now, but once I get these layers built up, it'll start looking like something that resembles a landscape. So behind my house, I got like this huge mountain range, which is awesome, especially around this time of year. Actually, I want to say about a month or so soon, we'll start getting some snow up there. My goal is to actually live closer to the mountains, closer to the wilderness and nature. I just like really love being out there. It's very peaceful. I feel like the air is just different out there. Like you can just breathe. So I'm still blocking in these areas. I think I'm gonna have to go with like a different brand, or maybe I just got a bad batch of these kneaded erasers, because this one's just not really lifting as much as I'd like for it to. Could be the paper too, though. And you know what? That's probably it, because I should have used like a really smooth paper, and I have some, and I got lazy. Instead of taping it up to the board, I had my Strathmore sketchbook, which this works too. I draw on this paper all the time. So this whole area down here, I'm gonna want super light, because it's gonna be reflecting. This is my body of water, and it's gonna be reflecting the lighter area from the sky. So what I'm doing right now is I'm like constantly kneading this kneaded eraser, especially this lighter area, because I really need to pull a lot of this out. See how the paper's like moving there? For like my drawings that I take a lot more time in, I'll tape the sides down. I'll just like rip out a sheet and tape it to the board, because I don't need it moving, especially when I'm doing like detail work, you know? So right now, I'm still blocking in, still getting these lighter areas. So my easel has like this tray right at the bottom. Like for painting, it's where, you know, I hold my brushes and things. So it works great for my charcoal drawings, because all this charcoal powder just kind of rains down and collects at the bottom. And I haven't cleaned that tray out in a while, because lately I just been dipping the brush in there whenever I need to tone my paper. And yeah, instead of throwing away all that charcoal powder, I'm just reusing it. So I think I got most of my areas blocked in that I want. And I'm going to keep adding and adjusting. If you guys ever painted before, it's kind of like you're building up layers of lights and darks and different values and textures. You know, when it comes to art, I really love textures. And I've noticed, again, this is just my own personal preference, but when I would go visit art museums and I'll see different types of artworks, the ones that draw me in closer, you know, where I want to get like a closer look, are those that have layers and texture to them. Because from a distance, you know, you look at these artworks and it's like, wow. And then you start stepping in closer and closer, and then you start seeing all these little layers and textures in them. And it's almost like, you know, you appreciate the depth that the artist put into it. And almost like you can see the process of the painting or the drawing. Like I can put myself in their shoes, like what it must have been like for them to be in their studio and then just building these artworks up. All right, so I think I got most of the lighter areas that I want. And now I'm gonna block in the darker areas. So I'm just gonna put like a line here. Try to make it kind of straight. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is supposed to be like a lake down here, or a body of water. And then up here, I'm gonna have maybe a few trees and then some mountains in the background, or hills. This is gonna be like the beach area, the water's edge. And, you know, I want some fog. That's what this is here. This would be like low clouds or fog, just kind of like hovering around there. I gotta be mindful that, or pay attention, because this is a lake, so it's gonna be reflecting a little bit of what I have up here, but I don't want it as dark. It should be darker, and then whatever it's reflecting, I'm gonna make it look a little bit lighter. Which I can do this, or I can go back and just kind of smudge it in later. All right, so we're still blocking in, doing all the lights and darks, just like the big shapes. Just building it up. And I do the same with my figure drawings and my portraits. I try to block in the big shapes and values, the light areas, the dark areas, and then slowly add a little bit more details, but not too much. you know, just build it up. Almost like sculpting, to be honest. That's kind of what it feels like. So again, I have this, it's gonna be a mountaintop here or hill. So I'm gonna have to add it somewhere down here because it's like reflecting. All right, so I think this needs to be a little darker. My next step, I'm gonna just start like smudging, and there's different ways you can do this. You can smudge and smear and blend with light tools, which I have, and I might use some. I like using my fingers. It's like typically a big no-no because you have like oils in your fingers, and so you lose some control, you know, when it comes to blending. It's kind of like taking a gamble because you don't know how those oils in your fingers are going to affect the whole blending process. But because I'm actually wanting that blotchy kind of textured look, that imperfect kind of look, I'm gonna go ahead and just use my fingers. I will say it's like super messy, very messy. And normally when I'm drawing, I take a lot of breaks. I'll draw for maybe 15-20 minutes, take a break, wash my hands, and then come back to it, take a break. The other reason is because I'm drawing upright, so it can be kind of uncomfortable. I'm 43 years old, so I'm not trying to cause any like back strains or anything like that. I'll take a lot of breaks. So we got one mountain kind of, or hill kind of forming back here. Start working on this guy here. This mountain is not as dark, which is typically, you know, when you look at landscape paintings or even photography or anything, the further something is, it starts to look a little more hazy. You know, it loses some of that saturation, that sharpness. I've been asked like what my thought process is when I'm doing this, and I draw. I even kind of squint my eyes sometimes, and then, you know, take a step back, and I'm looking for like a balanced image, if that makes any sense. If there's too many dark areas on one side and it's just my eyes are just going to that area, then I'll try to balance it out somehow on another side, or, you know, across from it. I think that's important when you're drawing or painting or creating, you know, form of art, even with photography, right? You want a nice kind of balance where your eyes are not too focused on one section of the artwork, but on the whole thing. In this case, because I'm only working with black and white, it's just balancing the dark and light areas and even the shapes. Because if you have like one big old solid mass of like a lighter area and the rest is just not quite balanced out with it, then your eyes are going to just kind of go to that area. And I think drawing black and white drawings, I think it's really good practice for that, because you don't have to worry too much about now like trying to balance colors on top of that. You can start by just learning how to balance your drawings, you know, the overall composition, with just you know, learning how to balance your dark and light areas and shapes. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments section, and I'll try to get back to you. Not only that, but there's like a ton of artists on here that follow my account that I feel like can provide a lot of value from their own personal experience, because like I never went to like art school or anything like that. I'm self-taught. Most of what I learned was before YouTube was even a thing. So yeah, I'm pretty old. So a lot of it was just like just learning from mistakes, you know, getting really hands-on experience. But I don't know everything, you know. Matter of fact, there is a lot that I'm still learning now because of YouTube, which is awesome, from other artists. The few art classes that I have taken, I was always told, don't use your fingers to blend. So I never did. Till I started drawing with charcoal recently, and I just couldn't fight the urge, you know. I just like wanted to get hands-on. And it turns out it just really went with the way I was trying to draw. Like, it really just kind of added to the look. And not only that, but obviously I create content or videos out of, you know, my drawings. So I feel like that hands-on, very hands-on approach just makes it very personal for me when I'm drawing, because it's just very raw, if that makes any sense. Charcoal just is a very raw medium. Smudging with my fingers, I'm literally using myself, my fingers, as a tool here. So I'm really liking how this is going, and it's just, I haven't done any kind of details or anything. It's super simple, right? What I like to do too is if I need to blend in some areas, like I want to kind of darken some of this right here, is I'll go to some of these darker areas and just kind of do this, you know, because I don't want this too dark, not yet. So I'll just run my finger through some of the darker areas, and it's just like just enough to darken it just a little bit, because if I take like a charcoal pencil over this, it's just gonna be really dark, and that's gonna be way too much contrast, you know, more than I want. I just want like a very soft area here, just a little darker than what's already there. This is supposed to be like clouds, right? So I don't want it to look flat. I want it to have a little bit of variety in terms of like a texture, you know. So my clouds up there are still not as soft as I like it. So I'm just gonna grab this piece of tissue here, and I'm gonna like just blend this like really soft, kind of circular motion here. So I want this to look very like hazy and soft, to keep that kind of moody, atmospheric kind of look. And I'll have to do the same down here, this area down here. Want to soften this up. So I have this big brush too. Sometimes I'll try it right now. Hopefully there's not too much powder in here. I'll use this brush just to kind of knock some of that excess powder, especially from the dark areas. So now I'm going to slowly start adding like a little more details, you know, just to kind of hint at where like some trees are at. And I have never done trees. My pencil is not too sharp because I don't want like a super detailed drawing. But yeah, this is my first time doing this, so we'll see how this goes. I'm not doing like, you know, these trees with a lot of foliage on them. And what I'm going to do is, as I'm drawing up here, I'm going to try to kind of like copy it down here a little bit. Anytime I do like a branch or one of these big branches, I'll try to do the same down here. And there's no way I'm going to get this like exactly. I'm not that good. But I'm going to try. I mean, unless somebody's being like super picky or dissecting my artworks here, I don't think people really notice. Maybe do another branch here. That's probably bigger than I wanted. I wasn't sure if that was coming out on camera, but it kind of is a little bit. So I got my main branches, and now I'm just gonna try to do like these little ones that branch out. So that's about halfway of that one. So maybe like here. And then just gonna do a bunch of like little ones. Not really worried about duplicating these too much because they're too tiny. I don't know if you guys can hear the sounds, but I used to post drawing videos with the sounds. I haven't really done that lately, but I've had like a mixed feelings about that with, you know, some people like it and some people don't. And I can see both, because sometimes it sounds nice and then sometimes it sounds like fingernails scratching a chalkboard, and that is not pleasant. So lately I haven't really been adding like sounds to my videos. So I got one tree. Now I talked about like balance earlier, right? If I just leave that tree there, it might work, but I feel like I need something now over here to kind of balance it out. So I'm going to add another tree, smaller one, somewhere here. Less detailed because it's off further into the distance. And again, try to kind of do a little bit down here because it's supposed to be a reflection or a body of water down there. I like how this looks, like all the, just like these little branches against the white, kind of cloudy, foggy background. Back here I'm adding more trees, but these are going to look more like just almost like scratches, honestly, like hints of trees back there. So weird how when it comes to stuff like this, your brain kind of fills in the gaps, you know, of what something is. Like we know, we look at something like this, we're like, well, these are trees back here. So I think I need another tree here, right next to this guy here. Nothing too crazy. It's a little darker than I wanted it. And then again, we'll just kind of hint at some trees back here. I'm like literally just doing some random lines in the background just to kind of look like there's trees back there. So I want to lighten this bottom part a little bit more down here. So I got this big old eraser here. And this is where taping my drawing paper would have probably been a better idea. I just got home from work like a few hours ago. For those that didn't know, I'm a fire captain and we work very weird schedule. We typically work, at least in my department, like a 48-hour shift. We're there for 2 days and then we get home. I worked overtime though, so I worked a 72-hour shift. Normally, when I get home from work, I try to use my day one, my first day off, as like a decompression day. Those of you that work in law enforcement or EMS or hospitals, I guess it really could apply to any job when you think about it, but it's just a common thing. It's a healthy thing to do. Yeah, I would definitely say with any line of work, to be honest, is to have like a decompression day. Even if you don't feel like you need it and you feel fine, like today I feel great. Maybe it's the caffeine, but just to take a day to kind of like, I don't know, just do the things you enjoy doing. Try not to add too much to your plate on that decompression day. I am like horrible at that though, to be honest. I just do not know how to just sit and like do nothing. But I'm okay with that because this is kind of what I do. Is I'll draw, or work on something. It just helps me unwind and relax. And normally I have like some calm, like chill music or meditative kind of music in the background, or some piano or classical music. I think lightening this area definitely helped out. So I'm going to say that this drawing is like super beginner friendly, We've talked about like balancing and how important it is to just kind of take a step back and be like, is there too much weight on one side? We talked about like, at least when you're working with charcoal, balancing not only those shapes, these large shapes, right? And I think that's why my eyes just saw that I needed this lighter, not only because of the cloudy areas, but I felt like it needed some balance. I had light, and this was kind of a dull. Now I'll just get my big old piece of tissue here and just blend this, make it look nice and soft. I don't want any hard lines. Just want this whole thing to have like a very soft look. Now, the challenge is going to be like the ripples, the ripples of water, which I'm not going to really do too much. I'm just going to do like hints of light being broken up Just like that, just these big old like chunks. I'm not gonna worry about drawing every tiny little ripple. And then I'm gonna, I'll go back and blend this. I don't want to mess up all the work that I did with these little lines. And you know what? I probably should have done the water first. This is my first landscape drawing, so bear with me. But yeah, maybe I should have done the water first, like all these little ripples and whatnot, before layering on the branches that are reflecting off the water there. Not too bad, not too bad. So I do want to do something else, is for this mountain that's in the foreground, kind of. So I don't want it to look too as soft as the one in the background. So I'm gonna like try to make this line here a little more sharp, or this edge, I should say. Because I'm kind of thinking of drawing some trees back there too, on the very top there. Cool thing about charcoal, right, is if I don't like it, I can just smear it or erase it. I'm gonna try to add like, or at least hint at like some trees back here, just to add something to this background here. And I'm probably gonna blend this too, or just soften it, I should say, because I don't want these lines to look so pronounced, like too sharp. I want it to look hazy, but where you can kind of tell there might be some trees back there. I don't want to do too much to this drawing. I want to keep it simple so that anybody that's watching, if they want to try it, you guys can actually try doing this exact drawing. And of course, even if it doesn't look exactly like it, I think you guys would probably get really good results anyways, where it looks pretty close. But with your own, style or your own spin on it. I think when it comes to like developing your own art style, you want to like learn, and you can copy and stuff other people. I did it. I've done a ton of drawings that way. And then instead of fighting those imperfections, or those things that you keep doing and over, you see it in like all your drawings. You just to learn to embrace them, And my thing with drawings and stuff that I saw myself doing was like, I kept doing these squiggly lines. Like, it's like, it would look really realistic or really cool, these drawings that I would do. And then my brain would just like, bam, drop some random squiggly lines. Like, I just wanted to do them, And I'll look at my drawings and trash them. Like, this looks like trash. I don't like the way it looks. And, I wasn't happy. I wouldn't be happy with them. I'm like, man, why do I keep trying to do this? And at some point, it just started to click. Like, I started doing it on some of my figure drawings, and it just like really, it just went with it. Like, I was going for this calm, in the midst of chaos kind of vibe, and adding those little squiggly lines that I do in my drawings, in my figure drawings and portrait drawings, just really complemented what I was trying to say with the drawings. So it ended up working really well. So I can keep drawing or working on this drawing forever, and I think that's just like an artist problem, right? We all do it, where we just never know when a drawing is done. So the way I see it, at some point you just say it's done. You know, you just take a step back and